What's up, everyone? All right, so in today's episode, I'm going to break down my trades from the morning. Today, we had a stock that squeezed up over 300%. This was very interesting because it just kept moving higher and higher and higher. It was not a straight parabolic squeeze. You know, it wasn't one of those stocks that had breaking news and went from $2 to $6 in one candle. We love when that happens, but this was a situation where we squeezed from, what was it, $1.50, $2 up to $3. Then we pulled back. Then we went to $3.50. We pulled back, went to $4. Seemed like it was going to roll over. Pulled back a bit. Then it goes up to $4.50. Seemed like then that was the top. It was going to roll over. Then it goes up to $5. Pulls back, $5.50. Pulls back, up to $6. Pulls back, up to $6.50. And all of a sudden, it's up 300%, 325% at the high. And shorts are kind of left, I think, caught off guard because you kept having what looked like reversal indicators on it. It looked like it was topping out and it was going to roll over, and then it just kept rallying higher. So it never really pulled back all that much. Yeah, we had some dips, but they weren't like 50% retracements. They were just really kind of reasonable pullbacks and then another leg higher, a reasonable pullback and another leg higher. Now, in spite of the fact that it's up over 300%, I didn't capitalize on it as well as I could have. And one of the things that's interesting with this is it currently has 120 million shares of volume. Wow, that's a lot of volume. In fact, it's so much volume that reading the tape, it's just ripping. And I have a little bit of a harder time reading the time and sales and the level 2 when you've got that amount of volume. So there's kind of a sweet spot. Of course, if you don't have any volume, then there's nothing to read, but there's a middle ground. And I'd say the middle ground is probably, I don't know, I would probably say anything more than 1 million shares of volume and then maybe up to like 25 or 30 million shares. When we start to get 25, 30 million shares, especially on lower price stocks, we get, they become more crowded. You get very tight spreads, usually 1 cent spread, with big stacks of buyers on the bid and sellers on the ask. And that becomes a little bit more difficult for me to sort of read, to anticipate breakouts. There's just so many people buying and selling just to scalp 1 or 2 cents. You kind of get lost in the weeds, and it's a little harder to see, is this going to have a bigger trend and keep pushing higher? So with that said, we're going to jump on to the screen share. We'll go over my trades from today. I'm up $5,409.08. First day of April, Q2. All right, that's good. I'm grateful to be green. I actually was red at one point today. I was red on RENX, and I still am. I was also red on CYCN. After my second trade, I went red on it, and I'm grateful to have recovered from red back to green. And so today is that much sweeter because of the fact that I was red and, you know, had a prospect of this potentially being a $3,000 red day. And I was red yesterday as well. So that's where I was left feeling a little concerned. Now, we'll go ahead and pull up the level 2 here so you can see what I mean on CYCN. So we just made a new high a day. We peaked at, let's see, what is it? 338% change on the day. So even right now, in a blink of an eye, we went from 660 on the bid to 670. The fact is, right now I'm looking at this and I'm thinking break of 7. And there you go. We got the break of 7 and we go up to the halt level of 735, which is awesome. Is it going to halt? And then it kind of all of a sudden dips down to 718. Then it's back to 735. So what's it going to do here? People are selling. We see all those sell orders. Okay, it looks like it's going to halt up. 374% on the day. Okay, so it's halted, showing a 736 resumption, a 735 resumption. Now, it'll probably be a 5-minute long halt, but right now showing a flat resumption. So, you know, this is the chart. You can see this is a stock that just rallied and rallied and rallied and rallied. It just kept going higher. This is great to see. We love this kind of price action. Well, actually, I don't know if I'd say I love it. I love to see stocks that continue to move higher. I would have preferred if it had had bigger breakouts earlier in the trading session. So when this thing first came out with news, it popped up here to from a low of $1.65 up to a high of $2.40. And I looked at that and thought, well, it's a merger catalyst. And CYCN is not the surviving company. It's going to do a symbol change, and Corsana Biosciences is going to be the surviving company. So, and the new ticker will be KRSA. So I was kind of thinking, oh, I don't know. These mergers don't always work well as a catalyst. I mean, this one clearly did, but I wasn't sure about that. So when the news first came out, I thought, I'm just not sure if this thing's going to work at all. So it ends up popping up here to a high of 240, pulls back, and then it kind of rallies back up. So my first trade on CYCN, I felt a little annoyed about this because we had this big rally here all the way up to 250, up to 3. Then this little period of sideways consolidation. See this area right here with the high of 324? And I was watching this. I watched first 1 minute candle to make a new high, and I hesitated. And you can see that while the first 1 minute candle made a new high, it didn't really resolve. It didn't go to the high a day. So it kind of goes sideways. And that left me feeling a little bit unsure about getting in at 324. But boy, it broke 324 and goes straight up to $4. So I got in the middle of that squeeze for the ride up to 4, and I made a little bit of money. It dips down, comes back up. I get back in right here, and I lost what I made on that red rejection candle. Frustrating. Even more so to see it rally right back up a moment later. Then it pulls back, and then another false breakout candle. So now I'm going to start highlighting a couple of these false breakout candles. We've got one there. We've got another one right here. We have another one right up here. And even this one at the open, this big topping tail. Each time I saw those candles with these big topping tails, I felt like, clearly a topping tail is showing that while the stock can pop up, sellers are bringing it back down. And that was even true with the very first candle of the day, this topping tail. So I don't usually like topping tail candles. They communicate weakness. So with this one popping up and then selling off, having a quick pop and then selling off, I went red on it here. And then in this area, I just felt really frustrated. And I was like, I just don't know. It rejects there, pulls back, goes sideways here basically for an hour from about 7:45 to about 8. Then 8:30, then randomly just pops here on this candle all the way up in one candle, and then it just goes sideways for 10 minutes. Then it pops again with a topping tail, then goes sideways. And I got in right here, and this was where I flipped from red on the day back to green. And what I was looking for here was what we're having right here. I thought this is where it was going to pull away, and we were going to squeeze up to 550 and 6, but it stalled out. It dipped down and then it rallied back up. I didn't get back in for the rally back up. I didn't trust it. It sells off, it comes back up. And then my last trade was getting in right here for the break through the high a day. And so traded in just in the last few minutes before the opening bell. Then it dips down, and at the open, I said, well, I'm just going to take my hands off for a second. Let's just watch the price action, because in that first minute, you can have a stock that'll squeeze up $1 a share and drop $1 a share. And your quotes sometimes get delayed because there's so much data going through at the same time. And before you know it, you press the buy button and you're filled way higher than you thought, or you press the sell button and you're filled way lower than you thought. So I was hands off for that first 1 minute candle, which ends up being a big topping tail. Yes, it goes all the way up to 659. I was like, oh, amazing, but no trade. Pulls back, comes back up, dips down, and then right here, we'll switch over to the 10-second chart just for a second. Look at this chop just before the breakout. So just before the breakout here, it sort of pulled back, it comes back up. And then right here, you get this false breakout, and it ends up doing this drop down to there. So it pops, then it drops, and then it rips back up to 690, and then there pulls away up to 735. And look, I'm thrilled to see this price action, but it's a little tricky. It's a little hard to manage. So now you've got a new high here of about $8 a share. Went from 8 all the way back down to 696, $1 a share drop. Big red candle, another shooting star. So I would say, is this easy for long bias traders? Not really. I didn't think it was easy for me. Is it easy for short sellers? Well, not really. It's up 400%, well, nearly, and it just keeps grinding. So this is a stock that is taking money from both long bias traders and short sellers with the way it pops and drops, false breakout, false breakdown, then it curls back higher. And you can see there's some bigger sellers that are coming out as this is getting more and more extended. So in any case, I just got to a certain point where I said, you know what? Hey, you got $5,400 in your pocket. That's a good morning. You did $7,400 of profit on CYCN. I don't really feel like I have a good read on this one. I don't feel like I have a good edge. It's just almost too much volume. It's just going so crazy. And I was a little unsure at the beginning of the move, which is when the volume was a little bit lower. But of course, at the beginning of the move, the volume picked up pretty quickly. Why? Because it's a cheap stock. So people start buying 20, 30,000 share blocks. So all of a sudden you start seeing some big buy orders and big sell orders. And I just find this price range to be a little tricky when they start below 5. Trading between 5 and 10, I usually do well, but more when they are kind of at 5 between 5 and 10 at the beginning of the move. This is now feeling like maybe it's, well, I don't know if it's the end of the move or it's going to go up to $20 a share, but it's certainly at the top of the current move and it's already up so much. All right, so that's CYCN. And the other stock I trade is RENX. RENX, also nice move at the open, popped up from 240 up to 340 at the opening bell. That's great. So trading these two leading gainers, didn't trade UCAR. Why not? It's too cheap. But RENX, I traded this one and I was green on it and then I flipped from green to red. So my trades on this were in the pre-market session. So initially, first trade got in right here for this little dip in the breakthrough 250. Made like $600. Didn't break and hold over 250, not good. Then it pulls back, then it comes back up. I got back in right here and then stopped out as it dropped back down. And that was it. So, it rallied here at the open. Coulda, woulda, shoulda gotten back in. But this one, again, has these big topping tails. This is tricky. So definitely I could see it would have been very easy for me to have a red day today. I could have had a red day. It would have happened, quite easily. Just from sort of having a hard time reading the price action on some of these stocks, just because the volume was so high, the orders were going so fast, I would catch sort of what I thought was a signal, and then I'd be mistaken. So interesting price action today, some high volume in the market, but I'd say overall this is a good sign. First day of April, and we've got a stock up 300, almost 400%. That's awesome. RENX, that's a big move as well. So at least we're seeing stuff moving. I mean, I would rather see that than have nothing moving at all. And I am green today. $5,400 is not bad. That's certainly, $5,000 a day is $1 million a year. So I can't complain, but I did go red today. So, it was a little tricky at first before I was able to kind of get into a bit of a groove. And then I stopped at my high a day. So I'm at high a day right now. I didn't give back anything off the top, but I may be leaving some money on the table. However, since I was red yesterday, $6,700, I'm still red between the last 2 days. Granted, it's only by $1,300 or $1,200, but still, I got some work to do, and so I'll be back at it bright and early tomorrow morning. And the market's closed on Friday. We've got a market holiday, Good Friday, and then Easter Sunday coming up on Sunday. So with markets closed on Friday, tomorrow is our last day of the week. Wow. All right. Already. That was quick. So we only have 2 days here to start the new month of April. And hopefully tomorrow I can just, hit a couple base hits, get green, and then shut it down, do my recap, and call it a day. And then we'll be back at it, of course, next week, where we can, have a full week to hopefully really make some good profits. All right, so that's the game plan. Thank you guys as always for tuning in. And reminder, trading is risky and my results aren't typical. So manage your risk, take it slow. And I'll see you guys back here bright and early tomorrow morning, streaming at 7 a.m. for members of Warrior Trading.